Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I'm in the Krangled passive event. I have just leveled a champion to level 53, and I scouted a bunch of stuff, but now I'm going to go through all of the ascendancies, pick an ascendancy that I like, and then continue the rest of the event trying to make that ascendancy into something. So we can't actually see the whole ascendancies here unless we spec into the nodes. So you really can't know what you're trying to build into if you don't know what your ascendancy is. So there's a couple of tools the community have been using to gather all this data and compile it. So we have a spreadsheet, and this is linked in the video description, where similar to last time we had a Krangled passive event, we were listing the Krangled Ascendancy node with where the original Ascendancy node was. So for Assassin, where normally Noxus Strike is, there's now Ramako's Sun's Light. And there's even images to show those for a lot of these for proof of them. Now, there are also a few Ascendancy nodes that we have not seen yet. Like 2 of these Assassin nodes. There's a Berserker node that's missing, though most of them have been filled out. Missing an Inquisitor one, 2 Juggernauts. So it's mostly here, and we should be able to get a decent idea of what all of these Ascendancy nodes are. So there's another tool. This site has a full tree that you can pretty much see everything on, as players have inputted what the nodes are. Now, I don't want to know what the passive tree is, right? So I'm trying not to look at all the small passive nodes and everything here, but they've also taken the Ascendancy notables and added them in here as well. So you can see the one that I was scouting, Tesalio Cleansing Water on a champion. And then there's also Master Toxicist. When you kill a poison enemy during flask effect, nearby enemies are poisoned from Pathfinder. Then there's Violent Retaliation. Attack damage is lucky if you blocked in the past 20 seconds, and hits ignore monster physical damage reduction if you blocked in the past 20 seconds. There's Impact, +4 melee strike range. AoE per enemy killed. Deal more melee damage to enemies based on proximity with a bunch of accuracy. This is from Slayer. Explosives Expert. 40 to crit multi against burning enemies. 80 to crit chance against shocked enemies. Damage penetrates Elurez against chilled enemies. Behind that is Defy Pain from the Berserker. You gain Defiance for 10 seconds on losing life to an enemy hit, and then you take reflected physical damage equal to max life when you reach 10 Defiance. And lastly is Avatar of the Chase, the Raider node that increases effective onslaught on you and gives more chance to evade attacks during onslaught. So there's stuff you could build around here. Trying to do something focused around poison probably isn't the best, so Master Toxicist probably isn't something you'd want to go for here. Some fun block stuff with Violent Retaliation, but Impact, Explosives Expert, Avatar of the Chase, these are things that can definitely add to a build really easily, regardless of what it is. I mean, you're tied into melee if you take Impact. Tesalio Cleansing Water, unaffected by Ignite. Make it easier to get resistances capped up. Or go in for the lucky attack damage if you block. But if you're going for this and you want to ignore monster physical damage reduction if you block, that doesn't work as well with Explosives Expert. That gives you elemental penetration. So it's kind of a mixed bag in champion. Gladiator has Headsman from Slayer. This is the 20% Culling Strike and gain bonuses when you kill rare enemy. Swift Killer, +2 maximum frenzy charges with 200% increased charge duration. There's Sign of Purpose, brand recall, cooldown recovery rate. This is really cool for a brand build, but you really can't play a brand build without Rune Master, I think it is, the Keystone, wherever that is on the tree. Rite of Ruin, triple the effects of rage, but you take life per second. Degen per rage while you're not losing rage. Plaguebringer, if you've consumed a corpse recently, you and your minions have 30% increased area of effect. With at least one nearby corpse, you and allies deal 10% more damage, take 10% reduced. Unholy Authority can apply additional curse. Your hexes can affect hexproof enemies. And Warbringer, Warcries grant rage per 5 power if you have less than 25 rage, and you can sacrifice rage for exerted attacks to deal more attack damage if you've sacrificed rage recently. So there's 2 things here tied to rage, with the triple effect and the war cries. Headsman and Swift Killer is really nice, but Warbringer being back behind Plaguebringer isn't the greatest, and Unholy Authority is also really good. So you could take these three out here and get Headsman, avoid the Life Degen from Rite of Ruin, but then you can't get Swift Killer if you take both of these. They're both pretty good, but there are things you could pull off with this, though nothing really comes together greatly. Slayer has Occupying Force. Mirage Archers are not attached to you. You drop them like totems. You can't stack them on top of each other. Blitz. This gives you Blitz charges when you deal a critical strike, and Blitz charges give 2% more attack speed each and 8% reduced crit chance. So the more Blitz charges you have, the faster you're going to attack, but you're going to lower the crit chance in doing that, so it's harder to gain more Blitz charges. But with the right build, you can stack lots of these. Then there's Untiring from the Juggernaut, 40% life regeneration rate, 1.5% of physical damage prevented from hits in the past 10 seconds, regenerated as life. Mastermind of Discord, exposure you inflict applies an extra -25 to the resistance, and regenerate 1% of mana if you've inflicted exposure recently. Unyielding, damage per endurance charge, AoE per endurance charge, chance to gain endurance charge on stuns, and increased stun duration. There's Deadly Infusion, 1.5 base crit chance while at max power charges, and crit multi per power charge. Mistress of Sacrifice, offering skills also affect you, though with 50% reduced effect, and 40% increased skill effect duration. I think there's some fun stuff going on here with Slayer. Blitz charges paired with Deadly Infusion. You have to find a way to gain power charges, and then you'll get a bunch of crit chance from that, as well as the base crit, making it easier to get Blitz charges. Then you have Mistress of Sacrifice to give you bonuses from an offering. I'm not sure what all of those are, but one of those would probably be pretty helpful. The 40% skill effect duration works amazingly for a lot of things. And then, like, if you're trying to do something with all of this with elemental damage, then you have Mastermind of Discord to give you extra exposure. So there's a really strong build in here, but who knows if the passive tree will allow you to do anything with it. That's the puzzle that I want to figure out with the Krangled passive event. Try and make the Ascendancy work for something given the passive tree, rather than just approach it all blind. So let's go to the Ranger. Raider has Unstoppable Hero, attack speed, armor evasion, and cannot be stunned while fortified. Behind that is Gathering Winds. You have Tailwind, and when you use a skill, you gain Gale Force, which increases the effect of Tailwind. Very cool stuff there. Reigning Veteran, max block chance plus 10, and armor and evasion rating per chance to block attack damage. And behind here it says Avatar of the Veil. I don't think they have this node. Yeah, we do not know the Avatar of the Veil keystone. So there's also Flawless Savagery, Flat Fizz if you dealt crit recently with crit multi and crit chance. Pyromaniac, immune to ignite and shock, and then regenerate 2% of life for each mine or trap triggered recently. So there still is one missing back here. Not sure what that is as of now. But having Gathering Winds, that's definitely a solid node. Flawless Savagery is solid. Reigning Veteran's kind of out of place here, I'd say. And then who knows what is back here with Avatar of the Veil. So that would probably be something you'd want to know before jumping into a Raider, probably. Deadeye is completely filled out here. Heart of Destruction. Gain convergence when you hit a unique enemy, no more than once every 8 seconds, and increased area effect while you do not have convergence. Convergence grants 30% more elemental damage for 4 seconds. So you can only have a 50% uptime on that, but that's a lot of extra damage. Sanctuary of Thought from the Hierophant. 20% max mana as extra ES, 25% mana reservation efficiency, AoE per 50 unreserved max mana, and 50% less mana cost of skills. First to Strike, Last to Fall. Your hits permanently intimidate enemies which are on full life, meaning they take 10% increased attack damage, and then you gain Adrenaline for 20 seconds when you reach low life. You recover 25% of life when you gain Adrenaline. You remove all ailments and burning when you gain Adrenaline. Adrenaline gives you 100% increased damage, 25% attack cast and movement speed, and 10% physical damage reduction. So it's a very strong node. Behind that is Valico Storm's Embrace. Maximum fire res also applies to maximum cold and lightning res with this Ascendancy node. There's Radiant Faith, armor equal to 25% of your reserved mana to you and nearby allies. Grants maximum energy shield equal to 10% of your reserved mana to you and nearby allies. So that pairs pretty nicely with Sanctuary of Thought. You get a bunch of extra energy shield from that, reserve lots of mana, turn yourself into the pseudo mana stacking guardian kind of thing with Sanctuary of Thought and Radiant Faith. You can't get these without the special unique jewels from Eater and Exarch outside of this event. Opportunistic. Damage from crits can't be reflected. More damage while there's at most one rare unique enemy nearby. Reduced damage taken if there are 2 or more unique or rare enemies nearby. Void Beacon. Nearby enemies have minus 20 cold res, chaos res, and 100% reduced life regen. And then Mindless Aggression. Minions have 10% movement speed. Deal increased damage, attack cast speed. So this Mindless Aggression could go nicely if you're playing a minion build here, stacking the mana and reservation for the armor, energy shield, all of that. There's something to play around with there for sure. Outside of that, I mean, there's Convergence, First to Strike, Last to Fall, really defensive node, Valico, Void Beacon, also really nice. So there's a couple things you could do with Deadeye. Nothing that I feel like I want to mess around with myself, though. Pathfinder has unflinching 30% chance to gain an endurance charge when you are hit. Chance that if you would gain endurance charges, you instead gain the max. Gain endurance charge every second if you've been hit recently, and +1 max endurance charges. Big defensive note here. Does like almost permanent uptime on endurance charges. Heartstopper every 10 seconds. Take less damage from hits and take less damage over time. And it swaps every 5 seconds. Noxious Strike, 40% chance to poison on hit. 5% increased poison duration for each poison you have inflicted recently, up to a maximum of 100%, and recover 0.5% of life per poison affecting enemies you kill. Very strong node. Behind that is Chain Reaction. Skills used by traps have increased AoE, and nearby traps also trigger when your traps trigger. So if you want to play a poison seismic trap build, that is kind of here, though you don't have the cooldown recovery you can get on a normal Saboteur. But also here, nearby enemies take 16% increased elemental damage and deal 8% less elemental damage with Augury of Penitence. There's Masterful Form. Maximum endurance charges is equal to your maximum frenzy charges plus 1 max frenzy charges. So if you take Masterful Form and Unflinching, you will have, I believe, still only 4 endurance and 4 frenzies. I think the max endurance charges equal to max frenzy charges. Like, it's going to set your endurance charges equal to frenzy charges no matter what. So I don't think it sets it to 4 and then the additional max endurance charge gives you a 5th. I don't think it works like that. So you could get this so you could stack frenzy charges and gain both, but you'd still need to find out where the frenzy charges and endurance charges are. And lastly is Master Alchemist. Removes elemental ailments when you use a flask. 50% chance for flasks you use to not consume charges. A nice node from the Pathfinder. Wait, this is the Pathfinder. Now, Pathfinder is missing what is on Master Alchemist. So we don't know what this node actually is. So let's go up to Shadow Assassin. I think we're missing 2. We don't know what Deadly Infusion is. Though this says Nature's Adrenaline now. Maybe that's new. Okay. So it got added there, but not here. So maybe this is Nature's Adrenaline. I knew that's one that was missing from before. And then there's Ramako Sun's Light. Nearby enemy monsters, fire resistance against damage over time is -20 while stationary. And your flasks gain charges with Nature's Adrenaline. Nature's Reprisal, chance to inflict Withered for 2 seconds on hit with increased effect of Withered. Painforge, 10 chance to block attack damage, cannot be stunned by hits you block. Counterattacks deal double damage. Master of Metal is the Impale node from the champion. If you've impaled an enemy recently, you and nearby allies have plus 1000 armor, and then extra flat fizz for each impale on an enemy. Don't know what Deadly Infusion is. And then Worthy Foe, enemies taunted by you take 20% increased damage and cannot evade attacks. Another champion node. Very nice, but you actually have to taunt the enemies. There's no like guaranteed taunt on hit like you get on a champion. So taunt enemies here, but the rest of it is kind of like meh, in my opinion. Nothing fits together super well. Nothing to really set it on another level. And then if you're just trying to combine Worthy Foe and Master of Metal to make a build, why not just do it in the normal league? when you have the whole champion built together. With these two things already, there's nothing new here in my eyes to explore. Trickster has Pursuit of Faith, +1 maximum number of totems. Master Distiller, grant bonuses to non-channeling skills you use by consuming 3 charges from a flask of each of the following types. Crit chance on Diamond Flask, LD Pin on Bismuth Flask, Fizzes extra chaos on Amethyst Flask. A lot you can do with that. I've not really explored this node myself. Profane Bloom, cursed enemies you or your minions kill have a 50% chance to explode, dealing a quarter of their maximum life as chaos. Very strong node. You have to curse enemies and they'll explode half the time with a lot of chaos damage. Toxic Delivery, poison you inflict with critical strike deals 25% more damage, 0.5% to base crit chance per poison affecting an enemy, up to 2%. A lot of extra crit chance there with Toxic Delivery. A lot of cool nodes you could already see something to build around here. Then there's Unstable Infusion. Chance to gain power charge on non-critical strike and critical strike, +1 max power charges. Trickster's crazy. Toxic Delivery, Unstable Infusion, and then if you're inflicting poisons with any kind of fizz-based thing, grab Master Distiller. This is 25 fizzes extra chaos. That's pretty solid. What else is here? Instruments of Zeal. Gain Fanaticism for 4 seconds on reaching max Fanatic charges, which is if you've attacked in the past second. Fanatic charges will start building up, and it gives more cast speed, reduced cost of skills, and 75% area effect for spells you cast yourself. And then there is Mistwalker, gain elusive on critical strike. No extra damage from crits while elusive. An increased elusive effect. So this is basically an assassin. These 3 nodes are from Assassin, and then you have some interesting things to fill in if you wanted to take all of those. But gaining elusive on critical strike is pretty nuts. Very defensive node, lots of crit, poison, Profane Bloom, lots of fun stuff here. Probably crit poison based, I would say. I think I would probably forego Mistwalker and take Unstable Infusion, Toxic Delivery, Profane Bloom, Master Distiller, make some kind of poison, Spectral Throw, or something big fizz based so that you can gain the crit chance and the fizz's extra chaos with the Diamond and Amethyst Flask together. Gain both things from Master Distiller there. I think that'd be really cool. Saboteur. We've got Elementalist. Summoned golems are immune to elemental damage, +1. Summoned golems. Increased effective buffs by summoned golems. Ritual of Awakening. More damage per summoned totem. Mana regen per summoned totem. And life regen for each summoned totem. Bastion of Hope. If you've attacked recently, 25 chance to block attack damage. Cast a spell recently, 25% chance to block spell damage. Very, very strong node. There's Crave the Slaughter. This is gain rage on hit with attacks no more than once every 0.3 seconds, +10 max rage. So there's just rage generation if you do anything with an attack. Doesn't seem to pair super well with anything else we've got here so far. There's Aruhangwi Moon's Presence. Recoup damage taken by your totems as life. Totem regen. Interesting. More damage per summoned totem. Extra mana regen and life regen per totem. Totems regenerate life. Okay, this could be a special concoction of Righteous Fire totems right here. Harmony of Purpose, way in the back. Linked targets and allies in your link beams have +5 max resistances, and then enemies lose resistances, cannot apply ailments. Soul Drinker, damage leeches energy shield, attack and cast speed while leeching, energy shield not removed on full life. And then critical strikes which inflict bleeding also inflict rupture. So this one's kind of all over the place. There's 2 totem nodes that just wouldn't actually normally be able to be together. With stacking regen with the totems, could be something fun there, but outside of that, it's kind of all over the place. On to the Witch. Occultist. We've got Arcane Blessing. Arcane Surge grants 20% more spell damage to you and gain Arcane Surge when you or your totems hit enemy with a spell. Bomb Specialist. Hits have a 20% chance to deal 50% more area of damage. 20% chance to take 50% less area damage from hits. Blood in the Eyes. Attacks have 50% chance to cause bleeding. Maim against bleeding enemies. Blind against bleeding enemies. Maimed enemies take increased physical damage. And that is blocking Unrelenting. Additional defenses per endurance charges. And then Born in the Shadows, cannot be blinded, reduce damage taken from blinding enemies. Nearby enemies are blinded, so that is behind Blood in the Eyes, which doesn't really fit with the Arcane Surge or Bomb Specialist as much. What else we got? Shaper of Storms, hits always shock. Shocks from your hits always increase damage taken by at least 15%. All damage can shock. That could work with this. And then Conqueror, 100% chance of taunt on hit. Reduce damage taken if you taunted an enemy recently. Enemies taunted by you deal 20% less damage with hits and ailments against other targets. So not for you, but other targets. Guaranteed taunt. Unrelenting is really good. Born in the Shadows is really good. Blood in the Eyes really kind of locks you into a bleed focused build, or at least an attack build. Shaper of Storms, you could have a lot of fizz damage and still inflict shocks this way. If all damage can shock, but then you'd still need shock chance or crits to deal it. I think Occultist is kind of a dud. Elementalist has Bastion of Elements. It moved from the right side to the left side. This is the one that gives you the Primal Aegis per notable passive skill allocated and cannot take reflected Ellie damage. Bane of Legends, more damage if you killed recently, no reflected fizz damage, blocking the no Ellie Reflect, more damage with hits against unique enemies. Sanctuary, you have consecrated ground around you while stationary, and Conk Ground applies increased damage taken to enemies. Avatar of the Slaughter, increased buffs from frenzy charges. Outmatch and Outlast, chance to gain frenzy charge on kill with main hand, endurance charge on kill with offhand. More physical damage at max frenzy charges, reduce fizz taken at max endurance charges. Really cool node. 2 frenzy charge things here. There's Endless Hunger. Overkill damage leeches life. Attack speed while leeching. Cannot be stunned while leeching. Unaffected by bleeding while leeching. Time of Need. Every 4 seconds remove curse and elemental ailments. And 100% life regen. And then Instruments of Virtue. This gives you Battle Mage. 10% more attack damage for each non-instant spell you've cast in the past 8 seconds. Up to 30%. So gain added spell damage equal to the damage of your main-handed weapon. Some interesting things here. You have to figure out how to get frenzy charges up. If there's a Mark Mastery around or something, that would work really well. And then you'd be dual wield if you do anything with Outmatch Outlast. I could pair nicely with Avatar of the Slaughter, Sanctuary for defense. I mean, Bane of Legends is also really good. You could pull something off here. I don't think anything's really kind of set up to amaze with Elementalist. Necromancer, we've got Unbreakable. Armor from body armor is doubled and applies to some Fire Cold Lightning damage. Bone Barrier is normally a Necromancer's seal. Additional physical damage reduction per minion up to 10%. Minions have more life. Like Clockwork, 30% cooldown recovery rate. Nearby enemies have increased cooldown recovery rate. Unwavering Faith, auras from your skills grant increased recovery rate of life, mana, ES to you and nearby allies. Forbidden Power, power charge generation on spending mana with extra buffs for power charges. Focal Point, increased effect of marks. Frigid Wake, cannot be chilled or frozen, more cold damage. And then Corpse Pact, 2% attack and cast speed for each corpse consumed recently up to 200%. Enemies near corpses you spawned recently are chilled and shocked. This one's kind of all over the place as well. A lot of cool things. You can be very tanky if you have a lot of armor stacking with this and you're using minions with Bone Barrier. Still Corpse Pact. Yeah, it's kind of hard to justify Necromancer as well. But it's situations like this, like where I think this is why you really need to be able to see what the Ascendancy nodes are. Because you could think going in blind, I want to play a Necromancer, and then you get up here and it's nothing synergizes at all. Or if it does, you're stuck into this very narrow niche. But then let's go to Templar. Starting with Inquisitor, we've got Inspirational. Banners have no reservation. Increased effect of non-curse auras. Other banner stuff. Behind that, Tukuhama War's Herald. Skills from body armor are supported by level 30 Ancestral Call, level 20 Fist of War. Bar shots, projectile attack hits deal less damage at the start of their movement, up to 60% more as they travel further. And Inevitable Judgment is not currently known on Inquisitor. There's Master Surgeon. Life flask effects do not queue. Not removed when unreserved life is filled. Less life recovery from flasks. Divine Guidance. A little bit of damage taken from mana before life. Maximum mana also applies to damage at 30% value. And then Demolition Specialist. Increased effective auras from mines. And mines hinder enemies near them when they land. I don't think there's anything amazing here either. Pending what's on Inevitable Judgment, but you're guaranteed into far shot for whatever that is. So there's not many options there, I don't think. Yeah, it's missing Inevitable Judgment here as well. Hierophant has Aspect of Carnage. 40% more damage, 10% increased damage taken from the Berserker. Huge damage node there. Behind it is Conviction of Power. Wow. +4 minimum endurance charges and +4 minimum power charges. So you just have those up all the time. That's 16% physical damage reduction, a bunch of resistances, a bunch of crit chance. If you get extra buffs for power charges anywhere, you just have that up all the time. So you get tons of crit chance from that. A lot of damage from Aspect of the Carnage. Ricochet skills chain 1 additional time and can chain with terrain. There's Brutal Fervor. Life Leech effects are not removed on reaching full life. Reduce damage taken while leeching. That's crazy. Master Alchemist removes elemental ailments when you use a flask. Chance to not consume charges. Essence Glutton for each nearby corpse. A bunch of ES and mana regen. And even more when you consume a corpse. Unstoppable. Movement speed cannot be stunned. Action speed cannot be modified to below base value. And there's Righteous Providence. Crit chance per point of strength and intelligence, whichever is lower. And then 50 strength and int, which is huge for this, as attributes are scattered everywhere. So you don't know exactly what attributes you're going to have available to you. So getting strength and int like this is very strong. And assuming this has attack damage leech. Oh, there's crazy stuff that you can do with this Hierophant. This Hierophant's busted. This is probably the one that is just busted. Brutal Fervor, Righteous Providence, Aspect of Carnage, Conviction of Power. You get crazy leech, crazy crit, good defense, lots of damage for whatever you want. You're not pushed into attacks or poison or minions or anything else. Like, this is just anything you want. Play Hierophant. You can do it. Guardian has Commander of Darkness. Auras from your skills grant increased attack and cast speed to you and allies. You and allies deal increased damage and have LE res. There is Nature's Boon. Magic utility flasks applied to you have 30% increased effect. Behind that is Illuminated Devotion. AoE and spell damage leech while you have Arcane Surge. And non-damaging ailments have reduced effect on you. Spellbreaker. Chance to suppress spell damage. Prevent percentage of suppressed spell damage while in full energy shield. Chance for ES recharge to start when you suppress spell damage. It's pretty cool. Rapid Assault. Permanent onslaught from the Raider. Pandacore Death's Fury. Enemies you kill have 5% chance to explode, dealing 500% of their life as fire damage. And then Shaper of Winter. All damage with hits can chill and increase effect of chill. Nothing super crazy here, I would say. Interesting things, but like when you compare what is on the Guardian to what is on the Hierophant, like this one is just way OP by comparison. And lastly is the Marauders. Juggernaut. Last I knew, we were still missing 2, which they might have been filled in. But there's Endless Munitions, skills fired 2 additional projectiles. 1 step ahead, action speed is at least 108% of base value, and lower nearby monsters' action speed. Overwhelm, base crit chance for attacks with weapons is 8%, regardless of what is rolled on the base, so you can overwrite the base crit chance with Overwhelm. Highest Path, Consecrated Ground, causes life regen to also recover energy shield for you and allies, and it lingers for 4 seconds. Perfect Crime, triggers level 20 summon trigger bots when allocated less damage with triggered spells, and that blocks Unnatural Strength, minions have Unholy Might, and Liege of the Primordial, +1 max number of summoned golems, and increased effective buffs granted by golems as well. So nothing behind here that works with Perfect Crime. You'd probably be pushed elsewhere into the base crit attacks with projectiles, projectile attack build, where you scale crit chance in a unique way with Overwhelm. Highest Path, 1 step ahead, extra defense, I guess. Not anything wowing there. Berserker, last I knew, yeah, it says we were missing one here, but I knew we were missing Shaper of Flames as well, so that could be it. Being blocked by Wind Ward. So this is really bad. This is a useless Ascendancy node without the Gale Force generation from the Tailwind Deadeye node. So you can't make use of this. This is a wasted node to get to Shaper of Flames. So that's not worth 2 Ascendancy points. That's pretty bad. Ambush and Assassinate. Critical strikes have Calling Strike. Extra crit chance and multi. There is Unwavering Crusade. Chance to trigger level 20 summon elemental relic when you or nearby ally kill an enemy or hit rare unique enemy. This is the anger, hatred, wrath auras you get from the Guardian. Withering Presence. More chaos damage. Lots of chaos res. Inflict wither. Nearby hindered enemies deal reduced damage over time. There's Arena Challenger. Chance to gain a Challenger charge when you hit rare unique enemy while in blood stance or on kill in stand stance. That gives you more attack and movement speed per Challenger charge. And that is blocking Radiant Crusade, the Sentinel of Radiance from the Guardian as well. You can do a lot with the Elemental Relics, plus the Arena Challenger. Radiant Crusade, you already pair with those normally. Ambush and Assassinate, it's nothing crazy, neither is Withering Presence. With Arena Challenger, I think this is just like a dud, really. Unless you really just want to build around Unwavering Crusade with Challenger charges. Really like the only thing here. And then lastly, Chieftain has Inevitable Judgment. Critical strikes ignore enemy monster ally res. Penetrate on non-critical strikes. Way of the Poacher. +1 max frenzy charges. Chance to gain frenzy charges. Locked behind Escape Artist. Extra evasion for ES on helmet. Extra energy shield for evasion on body armor. There is Tahoa Force Strength. Trigger Tahoa is chosen when you attack with a non-Vol Slam or strike skill near an enemy. Avatar of the Veil. Chance to avoid elemental ailments while phasing. Nearby enemies have Fire, Cold, Lightning exposure. Very cool. Namahu Flames Advance. Non-unique jewels cause increases and reductions to other damage types in a large radius to be transformed to apply to fire damage. And give all small and notable passives +3 to strength. I think that is very cool for a Krangled passive tree. Quartz Infusion. Permanent phasing. An undeniable the accuracy stacking node from the Jug. Gain accuracy rating equal to twice your strength. And Namahu Flames Advance gives a bunch of strength to nodes that are going to be like who knows what, and then you can convert damage types into fire, so you build around fire with Quartz Infusion, so you have decent defense, you can run through enemies. Nearby enemies have fire exposure, because you're going to be doing fire damage, right? And then you can't get away with the Poacher and take both of these. You can go Undeniable for the extra attack speed if you're doing some kind of attack, or Inevitable Judgment for the pin, or even Escape Artist just for the extra defense. I think this is what I'm going to do, though. I think I'm going to play Chieftain myself. I want to mess around with Namahu Flames Advance with the tree, and then Quartz Infusion is my favorite Ascendancy node of all of them. I love the permanent phasing. I think I can make something fun out of this, even though it's kind of... Well, it has 3 Raider nodes, but you can only get 2 of them. Avatar of the Veil is really good, though. Chance to avoid ailments while phasing. Like, this is... Both of these are well phasing, so I feel like you're forced into Quartz Infusion if you want Avatar of the Veil. Who knows where else you're going to be able to get that phasing uptime. So you're stuck into these 3 nodes, and then whatever else works. You get Undeniable, Escape Artist, or Inevitable Judgment. That's what I'm going to do. So in my next video, I'm going to be leveling a Chieftain, and that's all the Ascendancy nodes. Again, this website is in the video description if you want to check it out for yourself. I explored some of these nodes down here. Like, you can see the passive tree. If you are interested in spoiling it, have at it. You can make a build, plan the whole thing out. Like, I want to go at it now knowing that I'm going to play a Chieftain. I'm trying to make something fire. Go explore. I get 6 days to make it happen at this point. I think that's all for this one. Crazy event. Sucks it's only around for a week, but I am excited to get a real build up and going. That's going to do it for me. I'd like to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, definitely hit the like button as it really helps the channel out a lot. Subscribe to make sure you don't miss more videos from me. If you'd like to help support my channel, please consider using the super thanks, the heart icon just below the video, or by joining to become a member. And I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.